Welcome to Newly Invested, the podcast that's all about the real, sometimes raw journey of real estate investing. I'm your host, Judith Tate, bringing you conversations from the trenches of the investment landscape where we celebrate victories, learn from setbacks, and unlock the secrets to successful property investing. Whether you're a novice investor seeking tips and guidance or a seasoned pro eager to share your story, you've come to the right place. Let's get started and delve into the exciting world of real estate investing. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Newly Invested. I am your host, Judith Tate, and today I'm joined by the lovely Elizabeth Kelly. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And of course, I say the lovely because I think you're lovely. We just had a great conversation before we started recording, and yeah, I think you're lovely.
Thank you.
All right.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I'm just gonna read your bio just so everyone knows who we're talking to and just to find out more about you and what you do. So, Elizabeth was one of the top trainers for Rich Dad Canada for 8 years and was instrumental in assisting thousands of people to begin the real estate investing journey. She founded Elizabeth Kelly Consulting and Coaching to help new and experienced real estate investors strategically and aggressively build their portfolios and maximize their profits to achieve their goals more quickly and easily than they ever dreamed possible. An experienced real estate investor since 2005, Elizabeth has a passion for helping people achieve their financial dreams through investment properties. Elizabeth specializes in the acquisition and management of rent-to-own and multi-unit residential properties. As an entrepreneur, Elizabeth co-founded Sandstone Property Management in Kirkland Lake, Ontario. Elizabeth also founded Rent to Home, helping families bridge the gap between renting and home ownership. Elizabeth is the co-founder and co-host of the Real Estate Resilience Summit, an annual online summit that provides information to new and seasoned investors from experts in various fields in the REI world. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you so much. It's lovely to be here.
You know, it's lovely to have you and your experience on the show. So I just want to ask you about a few things. Rich Dad Canada, tell us a bit about that.
It was such an instrumental part of our journey. My husband and I started investing in 2005, and we were doing the right thing. We were buying, we bought single family homes and turned them into duplexes. We bought an 8 room student rental, and then we bought 6 units in a condo conversion project. And we were so pleased with ourselves. And then we had a special assessment come in, and overnight, our 6 condo units went from positively cash flowing to negatively cash flowing. And we were like, how is this possible? How did we not know about this? This is terrible. So we figured we needed some education. And in 2008, we started taking our courses with Rich Dad Canada, learning how to do real estate the right way. And my husband is a very much go big or go home kind of guy. So by 2010, we were coming back and we were sharing, some of the things that we had learned with some of the classes. We were sharing our experience. And by 2012, they had asked us to become trainers for Rich Dad. And it was absolutely hands down one of the most rewarding parts of real estate for me.
Oh, wow. That's great. So yeah, you've been investing since 2005. That's a very long time.
I
So
am a dinosaur in the real estate world.
well, I was thinking you're just so experienced. So I would have said you're a dinosaur, but no, you've got a lot of experience and obviously like a lot of value to provide. So tell us about your consulting business.
Um, I love what I do, and it's sort of the continuation of Rich Dad because I started off by teaching the sales and negotiations course, and then I taught the lease options course. And then I moved into creating and teaching a course called Momentum, which was the very first course that all the investors in real estate had to take. And it gave them the basics of everything they needed to know to start a real estate business. But it enabled me to work with a ton of people, thousands of people who were just starting their real estate journeys, and I'd see them come back a year later, or I'd see them 2 years later at alumni events. And I'd say, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? And they said, well, I haven't done anything. And I started to realize that it didn't matter how much you taught someone. If they didn't actually take action, they could know everything. And it was just the same as knowing nothing. So
Mm.
that was when I wanted to transition into the coaching space because I actually wanted to walk beside people and help them apply what they had learned, help them make those decisions and take away that fear of what if I make a mistake? What if this is the wrong move? What if there's something I don't know? And it just kept them paralyzed.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because you can absorb as much information as you want, but if you do nothing with it, what's the point, right? But then I guess a lot of people they don't take that action because they don't know, like they or they're afraid and they just need that extra bit of guidance.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, and I'm going to be really honest here, but I think sometimes people believe that as long as they're educating themselves, that is taking action, and it can actually be a form of procrastination where they attend workshops and they go to meetings, but they don't actually do anything. And they're like, "Well, but I'm still being active. I'm still doing stuff in the real estate space." And the reality is, if you don't buy a property at some point, if you don't do something in the real estate space, then you can't be a real estate investor. You actually have to take that risk and jump off that cliff and just have faith that you're going to figure it out on the way down. Because none of us, I mean, the journey that I've taken over the last almost 20 years is nothing like what I envisioned, I'll tell you that. And I don't think many
Yeah.
people have their journey has been exactly the way they planned it or thought it would unfold for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't be a procrastinator. Some people get caught up in that.
Yeah, that's so cute. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, exactly.
Procrastinator. Awesome. Okay. So the last thing is your annual summit. Tell us about that.
So we've done 2 years with the Real Estate Resilience Summit. It's been fantastic with my co-host Corey Spurley. He's such a pleasure to work with. And he's decided he wants to go in a slightly different direction. So this year I have two new co-hosts. I have Megan Hubner and Victoria Clooney, and we have opened up the summit. So we are moving more into the space where it's going to be for entrepreneurs and business owners in the real estate world. So people who want to create side hustles, people who want to aggressively grow their portfolios, people who want to do the business part of real estate. And we've actually opened it up to the US market as well. So we have some US speakers coming in, and we're much more focused on, instead of being a specific strategy to invest or a specific, this is about apartment buildings, it's about how do you create this business? How do you create a side hustle which will enable you to leave your job more quickly? How do you choose Canada or the US? Or, am I buying a business? Am I founding a business? So it's a lot more sort of entrepreneurial based and a lot less. There's definitely some people who want to buy a house and that's it. This is not for those people. This is for the people who want to grow and to learn and to build.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of information that you provide. Is it just a one day thing or is it like a weekend thing?
It's a 2 day. It
Oh,
is
okay.
100% virtual, and we have a very sophisticated platform that we use that is exactly the same feeling as if you got out of bed and got dressed and drove to a 2 day event, a 2 day summit, but it's all virtual. So you jump
Mm.
on, there is a speed networking so you can chat with people. There's an expo booth so you can go and talk to the speakers. We make sure that there are goodies and downloads for everybody. Every speaker has to provide something free, something of value to the people who attend. And it's literally 2 straight days of just education and learning and
Oh.
networking.
Oh, okay. Oh, it sounds like fun. I may have to check that out.
Absolutely. It's the last weekend of September. We would love to have you.
Okay, excellent. All right. So, what is your specialty when it comes to real estate investing? What area do you focus on the most?
It's funny, a lot of what I do is problem solving. Most of the time, when
Okay.
people come to me, they have a problem and they're looking for help solving it. So, whether they have a property that's negatively cash flowing, they might have a portfolio that's upside down, they might have a problem tenant, there's some sort of crisis or issue that has prompted them to reach out. And somebody the other day called me the comeback coach. And I was
Huh?
like, huh, that's kind of interesting. But I think that is actually a really good representation is I take problems and I help people figure out solutions to them. And there's two ways that I work with people. One might be we spend just an hour together figuring out, their problem and creating an action plan. And then the second way is people who say, I need more support. I need accountability. I'm overwhelmed. I need help. chunking things out, figuring out my next steps, and then someone to walk beside me. And then that's when I move into an actual coaching program with people. And we can solve pretty much any, I don't think there's a single problem that between my knowledge, my experience, my network, and the great conversations we have, I don't think there's anyone who's walked away without something of value that's helped them turn things around.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. So is it just you that coaches, or do you have like a team of coaches?
Nope, it's just me.
Okay.
I'm really big on integrity, and I know that part of the challenge that's happened or that's unfolded in the last few years in the coaching space has been when people take on other coaches and they don't know exactly what they're doing.
Mm.
And I have always wanted to just work one on one with people because I'm comfortable and confident with what I am teaching and what I'm sharing. And I would feel terrible if under my watch somebody was given improper advice, and it doesn't even have to be intentional, it can just be accidental. But there's already enough misinformation out there. And I like to be 100% sure that my clients know exactly that they can rely on the information exactly as it's being given to them.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, everyone, runs their business with, whichever way they feel is best for them. But I often wonder that too when I see someone who has a coaching business and they hire other coaches. My concern is, how do you qualify those coaches to make sure that I'm getting the level of quality coaching that you would give personally? So, oh, that's
Yeah.
that's great.
And I think different people have different reasons for coaching. And for me,
Mhm.
I coach because I want to give back to the community that has given me so much over the years.
Yeah.
And it really is about providing as much as I can to educate people. I love sharing my mistakes. I have no problem telling you, I screwed up here. I lost money here. This deal went sideways over here. Here's the things I did. Please don't do them yourself. I have
Yeah.
no problems sharing that information. And not everybody's comfortable doing that. Some people are more comfortable just, showing I made money here and I made money here, and let's not talk about the other part of it.
And that's really powerful too. Like when you can, yeah, admit to, I made a mistake and these are the lessons I learned. But I think it's so much more powerful though doing that rather than hiding it, because it shows that number one, you're human and you make mistakes, but then also the comeback from that
Mhm.
mistake. I think that's really, really important for people to see.
Absolutely. And it's funny, as I've gotten older, I mean, if I could take what I know now and the person that I am now and rewind like 15 years, I think of all the amazing things I could accomplish with that time, but all
Yeah.
the lessons that I had to learn to get here. And it is so, so important that we honor that our journey and what we've learned, and that we be willing to share that, I think, with other people. If we can save other people pain and heartache and financial losses, then to me that's really important. That's a really valuable piece that we can give back to our community.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about something that's very timely. um, Joint venture partnerships, private lending, that has been in the news, or well, wherever you, I don't know, follow real estate, or whatever groups, like it's just a lot of talk right now when it comes to like joint venture partnerships, private lending, all the issues, concerns, things that are happening. So tell us your thoughts on that. Well, let's start with, joint venture partnerships. Are they good or not good?
And I think the answer to that, like many things in real estate, is really that depends. It depends on if you've chosen your partners correctly. It depends if your documents and your contracts are drawn up correctly. It depends on a whole bunch of things. I think fundamentally, you have to look at your underlying premise for why you're doing this. And if your underlying premise is, I want to do a deal with someone because I don't know how to do deals myself, because I don't know how to, find and vet borrowers or lenders. If you're doing it from the perspective of, I don't know enough, so I want to learn, I think that that is a road that can be fraught with challenges. I think if you
Mm,
say, I want a partner because I can't qualify for any more mortgages, or because I need additional funds, or because my credit isn't great, but I have the knowledge to do the due diligence, I think that's a better position than saying, I'm a brand new investor and I want someone to teach me, so I'm going to partner with them. And I think that's part of the reason I'm so passionate about being a coach, is because I don't have a horse in the race. So if you bring me a deal for us to look at together, I don't have a vested interest in pushing you to do the deal. I'm
Mm.
just going to teach you how to vet and analyze that deal yourself. And I know there's a couple of mortgage brokers in the last year who've gotten themselves into hot water. There's BC and there's a couple in Ontario. And I think one of the fundamental challenges that people have had is that they didn't know and understand how to vet opportunities themselves. You owe it to yourself to invest in your education and learn what you need to know if something is a good deal independently of everybody else's advice.
I agree 100%. You really, really have to do your research and be so educated, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't, and I don't know, something happens, you lose out big time, you lose a lot of money, like it's your own fault, right? What's one of the best ways to vet someone? Like, what would be the process that you would take to say one of your clients through in vetting someone?
So are we talking about if someone wanted to become a lender and then do some private lending, or are we talking about if someone was thinking about partnering? Because those processes are quite different.
Yeah, let's look at the partnering aspect of it.
Okay. So I would look at a number of different factors. I look at the deal, and I look at the property and say, is this property worth what it's supposed to be worth? What is the plan for this property? I look at the market itself and think, if something happened to my partner and I had to step in and take over, do I believe that I could execute on this deal? Do I believe that the value in 3 years or 5 years is in line with what their projections are? So I have to know enough to vet the deal. Then I have to look at my partner, and I might not necessarily ask for a credit report and all those kind of things, but I might go and pull their, it's called the General Securities Agreement, or a PPSA. So I'd go and see what's registered. If they're a contractor, do they have a whole bunch of, registrations on their PPSA saying they owe a ton of people money and they've ripped them off? That obviously would be a red flag for me. And I look at the contracts, because that ultimately, nothing else matters when things go sideways except what's in writing on those contracts, whatever you can prove in court. So I have a situation with clients right now where they signed up to be limited partners in a couple of apartment buildings. So they have general partners who found the deals, put everything together. They're supposed to be managing and running the deals. And I don't even think any of the limited partners took the documents to a lawyer to have them reviewed, and everybody just signed. And now they're having to go to arbitration. And
Oh,
the documents, there's some problems that the lawyers have found with the documents. So at the end of the day, what you said, the conversations you've had, I mean, you can't prove any of that. It comes down to the contract. So I think fundamentally that's the biggest thing that can protect you.
oh, wow. Yes. So going to a lawyer. So how do you know where to find a lawyer to help you go through these contracts, and what exactly would the lawyer be looking for?
So, in terms of finding a lawyer, typically the easiest thing to do is to ask around and to see who has a good reputation, who's dealt with these situations before. And there's different types of lawyers. So, a new investor might not know, you use one type of lawyer for closing your real estate deals and setting up your corporation, but you're going to need a litigation lawyer if you're having trouble collecting your money, or having people honor their commitments, whether it's a private loan or a partnership agreement. So, you'll need
Mhm.
different types of lawyers. Ask around is generally the easiest way, who has done a good job for other people in the real estate space. And in terms of what they cover, I look at contracts as putting in writing what will happen if things don't go according to plan. Because if things go according to plan, your contracts are they're totally unnecessary. You don't need them.
Mhm.
You only need them if things go sideways. And if you take the time to review the contracts, to go over them with your prospective partner, then you should be talking through, if this happens, if you run into financial difficulty and there's no money here, if there's a cash call because we've encountered a major unforeseen repair, how is that going to be handled? How do we handle the payouts of money if we refinance in 3 years and there's a chunk of money sitting in the bank? Where does that money go? How is it divided up? these are the types of things that are really important, and a good lawyer is going to help you be able to navigate that.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's a lot of, yeah, that's a lot of good info. See, I wouldn't even know, like I've never done a joint venture partnership, so I wouldn't even know where to start or what to look for or, what should be in a contract. So in that case where, those clients, they didn't take the contract to the lawyer, why? Did they feel they didn't need to? Did they feel that they just trusted the person enough? Like, why would you not go to a lawyer?
I think that there's been a lot of just trust. And I mean, I've been through the recession in 2008, so I
Mm,
did see, some of the downturn and what that does to people and what that does to portfolios. But I think there are a lot of people investing right now who are relatively new. They've only been in the space 5 years or 7 years, and they had no idea what a downturn would look like and the tremendous impact it has when you have interest rates that go up, as much as they went up from 2% to 7% in the space of, just over a year. I mean, who would have predicted that, right?
yeah.
And understanding what the implications are for people who have variable rate mortgages, as most investors do, all of a sudden people who are positively cash flowing very comfortably are well underwater. And then at the same time, the value of their properties dropped and they can't sell them. So there's tremendous pressure that I think a lot of people were not anticipating. People just keep expecting the market to go up, especially because we have so many people and such a housing shortage.
Hmm. Got it. So tell us about private lending now. So if, say, if I was a private lender and someone came to me saying, I need a private lend for this project,
Hmm.
what are some of the, like, what should I look for? What are some of my due diligence steps that I have to take before I decide if I'm going to lend that money?
Yeah. I'm always looking for personal guarantees because I want to know that they stand behind what they're doing. I'm always looking for additional collateral. So I look at the loan to value, how much money are you asking me to borrow, or are you asking to borrow from me? And then what is the loan to value totally on this property? And then is there somewhere else that we can cross secure so that if something happens with this property, that my money is then secured elsewhere? I was just talking to one poor investor this morning, and I tell you, she did a private loan that was arranged by a mortgage broker. And I think a lot of people believe that if you have a mortgage broker in the middle, that you don't need to know or you don't need to do your own due diligence and you can just trust. But at the end of the day, when you've done that, then the mortgage broker gets paid. And when things go sideways, they're not involved in that. That's on you to figure out what to happen next. So she found out that she did this deal and the borrower stopped paying. And now there's six people. There are six prom notes for the same piece of equity that was promised to her in this promissory note that she signed. So she did a completely unsecured loan, and the borrower said, hey, there's this, $200,000 worth of equity in this property I own, so will you lend me $200,000, and then if I don't pay you, you can go register against this equity? And when she read to register against the equity, she figured out there's six other people.
Oh my goodness.
So
Wow.
this kind of stuff, I don't like promissory note lending at all. I think you should always have your money secured. It's just way too risky unless, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be secured on the subject property. Someone says, I want to do renovations on, property B over here, and I'm going to register your loan on property A. If there's the security there, that's fine, the equity, but you need to protect yourself. You can't assume that everything will be roses and sunshine because unfortunately, the unforeseen things happen.
So I've been hearing a lot about promissory notes. And even in the title, promissory note, it doesn't sound secure. To me, it sounds like a letter. I promise to pay you back. Why would anyone do a promissory note? I don't understand why it's even an option.
Because what is being offered, the returns that are being offered are so enticing, and people are being swayed by the promise of money. So I've seen promissory notes there 15%, 18%, 20%. And people are like, wow, I could give you $100,000 and I could make $20,000 on my money and you would still owe me my money back. So the idea behind it is that the returns are amazing. The reality behind it is the returns are amazing because the risk is really high too. And that's the thing in real estate. A lot of times, those big rewards come with big risks, like flipping. That's a more, there's more risk associated with that particular investment model than there are with many others.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, there's my next question. What is what's so risky about flipping? That's a strategy that I haven't considered because that's a lot to manage. But I know a lot of people do it. I thought it was a really good strategy. I didn't realize it was risky. So what's the risk?
Well, it's a really great strategy when the market is increasing, but when the market is close to the peak or when the market is declining, it's incredibly risky because you need to buy the property under market value. You've got the cost of your renovations and the holding period, and then you need to sell the property for all of your costs in plus some profit for you. So if you're doing that in an increasing market, it's much more likely you'll be able to do that. But there's a lot of flippers who got caught in 2022, 2023 with properties
Yeah.
that they couldn't sell for what they needed to get their money back out. So they ended up having
Mm,
to pivot and maybe hold on to the property for a couple of years and put a tenant in there. And tenants are not, by and large, going to look after a property the same way that most homeowners do.
got it. Okay. So what can you tell us about other strategies as well that you've been involved in, like say BRRRRs or just well, I'm doing student housing. I think you mentioned student housing
Yep, yep.
earlier.
We
Yeah,
we
so
were the official housing provider for Northern College in Kirkland Lake for a number of years as well.
that's amazing. Yeah, so
It's
tell
a
us
lot of
about
work.
your experience with student housing and how much of a lucrative market it is, because I think it's pretty lucrative.
It is. It is.
Yeah,
And the trade-off is that you need to have the time and energy to be able to manage those students or alternatively be able to hire great property managers to do it because
yeah,
managing students is not hands off, particularly, the students that are going through now, they're a year younger than we were when we went to college and university. So some of them are,
yeah,
17 years old and they're away from their parents for the first time. So
yeah,
it's you definitely need to put more time and energy in, but like you said, I mean, you're making more money because you're renting the house out by the room basically.
yeah.
And the nice thing is that, there's turnover typically every year or every couple of years, so you always have the opportunity to stay around fair market rent, which I mean, since COVID and a lot of the student rental places shut down, people rented them out long term and now they haven't come back online.
Hmm.
So there's a lot less availability now too. There's a lot less supply for the student rental. So it's a fantastic strategy, very lucrative right now.
Yeah. As I said, I just entered that market and well, it's only been a couple of weeks. So I don't know. I don't know a lot about it, but it looks very promising. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And if you'd like a hand with that and want to talk anything through, let me know. I did have a property management company for 15 years, so
Oh,
chances are I've seen a lot of it.
okay. Excellent. Good to know. All right.
Yeah.
So what's one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's just starting out their real estate investing journey?
Check your assumptions. So there's a lot of people who make a lot of assumptions about, oh, well, I love this strategy and this is the market where I want to invest. So I'm just going to smush the two of them together and assume that it works. And the reality is there's three things at play when you're deciding what you're going to do with like what your investment model or strategy is and where you're going to invest. You need to consider where we are in the overall real estate cycle. There's four phases. You need to think about, are we in an inclining or a declining market? Then you need to take a look at the particular market where you want to invest and classify it. Is it a primary, a secondary, a tertiary market? Which investment models or strategies work best in each of these markets? And then you need to say what investment model is actually going to work for me financially, time wise, network wise, skill and knowledge wise. So the optimal investment model for you is actually an interplay of all three of these different pieces. And this is what I discovered is sometimes I'd be bang on, like I found the right strategy, like rent to owns, fell in love with rent to owns, think they're absolutely amazing, go out to New Brunswick and do them. And I lost money on some of them. I'm like, what happened here? I'm like, oh, because I picked the wrong market. It was
Oh.
Brunswick was fine for multi-unit buildings because you're holding on to them for the long term. But with rent to owns, where a lot of your return is based on the appreciation or the increase in the market over 3 years, I miscalculated and it didn't grow as aggressively as I needed it to for me to do well with a rent to own.
Interesting. So do you
Mhm.
still have those properties?
I have sold them all now. We had a portfolio. We were up to, I think, around 50 units in New Brunswick at one point, and I'm down to five. So
Huh.
it's, yeah, it's been a
Wow.
weight off. It's challenging to manage from a distance. There's
Mm,
absolutely no doubt that there's a different sort of complexity that comes from managing a property manager versus self-managing.
hmm Wow. That's great. So we'll have to definitely talk about that because New Brunswick is another area that I'm interested in investing in. More multifamily.
Hmm. And most of mine were multifamily. I think I had 8 rent to
Mhm.
owns out there.
Wow. And that's the rental own strategy. I didn't even know that was a thing until, I don't know, maybe a few months ago. And
Mm.
I remember watching, I went to a webinar and got some information on it, but I thought, okay, it's a little too advanced for me right now because it's just, I hear it's really, I guess it can be really lucrative, but it's still, I think it's something that still takes a lot of experience. So once you have some experience in the market, and as you said, like knowing, what cycle in the market to buy. So that makes perfect sense.
Absolutely. And there's different ways. I mean, you can get into rent to owns. You can have someone do the heavy lifting and put all the pieces together for you, and you just basically buy the deal. You can even have someone manage as a service provider for you. So you don't have to know how to do everything, but you do have to
Mhm.
be prepared to do your due diligence and to look into the different ways to invest and to be able to collaborate with others.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Mhm.
All right. So we're going to move on to the lightning round. This is where I just ask you some fun questions so we can just find out a bit more about you.
Sounds
You
good.
ready?
Yep.
Okay. So I love this question. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Do they have to be dead? Can they be alive? Can I just pick someone I'd really like to have
Yeah.
dinner with right now?
Yeah, sure.
I'd love to have dinner with Mel Robbins. I just
Oh,
think
okay.
she is amazing. She has so much life and so much drive, and she just has such a great attitude and mindset. I listen to her podcast all the time. I read her books. I just think
Hmm.
she's an amazing lady, and I would love to hang out with her and be able to pick her brain one on one.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, she's pretty cool. Like I know she has that is that 5 minute rule or
Got
something
high
that you
five
do within
habits. Yeah, she's got the 5 second rule. Yep.
5 second rule. That's it. 5 minutes. 5 minutes is actually a really long time. The 5 second rule, that's it. I
Yeah.
don't really follow her, but I've seen her videos.
Yeah,
Excellent.
she's specializing in a lot of like women's stuff right now, women's health and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I find her so relatable. She's another one who's not afraid to look like a dummy. She's not afraid to, share about a fight she had with a family member. Like she's just really honest. And I have so much respect for that now because
Yeah.
as social media has become more and more popular and the filters and all the other stuff, it feels like sometimes we're losing touch with each other. And I think that
Hmm.
honesty is such an important part of connection.
Oh, that's so true. Yes, people really, yeah, they connect to the honesty and the and being vulnerable. People love
Yes.
that. Yeah. Okay, so what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self? Now, say 16 years old ish.
Um, Care less what other people think about you.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
It's so hard, as a female. I mean, I'm the oldest child. Like we're basically conditioned to, sort of be those people pleasers and to spend more time, listening and watching and paying attention to other people than we do ourselves. And I think if I spent more time listening to what my gut told me, I think I would have known what I know now, but I would have been younger when I learned it.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I'm the oldest too, oldest of three.
And do
We're
you have that
special.
challenge too, where you're like hyper, you're organized and you're driven and you're on top of things and you keep everything together, you keep people organized. Do you have that as well?
Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah,
Eldest child syndrome.
exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good. So it's not just me. It's
No.
just an older child thing. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Share a surprising fact about you.
I don't really think I'm not, I don't think I'm that surprising, to be honest.
Something that people
I
don't know
um,
or interesting.
I don't know. I think I share a lot on social media. I'm not sure how much of it there is that people don't know about me. I
Okay.
started doing cold plunges recently, and I'm really enjoying that.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. And
It's
what
funny
got
because
you
I
into
thought
that?
it's really hard. Like the
Yeah.
first 30 seconds are absolute agony. But
Yeah.
I've discovered this kind of competitive side of me that's
Oh,
like every time I have to stay longer. And it's like I look forward to the challenge now. And I didn't really think of myself as a really competitive person. I always have thought of myself as very collaborative, but apparently I am pretty
yeah.
competitive against myself. So maybe that's your interesting fact.
Oh no, that's great. Yes, that's something I've been thinking about doing, but I haven't taken action on it yet to get a cold plunge because I'd rather not be in the cold water, but I know there's a lot of health benefits behind it. So good for you.
Yeah, actually, I started doing cryotherapy as well. And that's the nice piece is that you get all the benefits of cold plunge, but
Mhm.
you're not wet, so it doesn't feel as cold. And it's
Okay.
not, it doesn't have the same level of aggressive shock to your body. Like it doesn't take your breath away the way that
Okay.
jumping in cold water does. So I find it a
Oh,
little easier to bear, but you actually get better benefits. So
oh,
I do that once a week too.
oh, excellent. All
Mhm.
right. And where can people find you? Or how can they connect with you?
Probably Instagram is the best place now, Elizabeth Kelly Consulting. And yeah, I love chatting with people and hearing about their journeys and their challenges. And I'm always here to help.
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is a great conversation.
Oh, thank you. I'm so honored to be one of your guests. You're doing an awesome job sharing high quality, honest information with people in the real estate world. And we definitely need more awesome people like you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you're the best. All
Thanks.
right. Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you in another episode of Newly Invested. Happy investing. Bye.
And that brings us to the end of another enlightening episode of Newly Invested. A huge thank you to our guest and to all of you for tuning in. Remember that investing in real estate is a journey filled with highs and lows, but the key is to keep learning, keep investing, and keep growing. If you want to stay updated with our latest episodes, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate it if you could leave us a review. This is your host, Judith Tate, signing off. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Newly Invested. Happy investing! The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast. The information shared in the podcast is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, financial, or professional advice.